So, it's been a while since I've done a dedicated fluff video for 40k, huh? I took a break from fluff videos because after TikTok fucked over many Canadian creators, I just genuinely started feeling burnt out. So I decided to pivot a bit and focus on the gameplay aspect of 40k, which I won't be stopping, but now with the recent reveals from Adapticon, we learned that the fluff will be going back to Armageddon. And I had a lot of people asking me, what the hell is Armageddon? Why is it important? And why is Gazzy so weird looking?
Are you looking for hot Russian singles in your area?
Which got me thinking. Even talking to people at my local games club, many people don't know what is going on with 40k's story. What's Nakaman Gauntlet? What's Pariah Nexus? People just don't know, because A, people don't have $60 to throw around for campaign books, and B, not everyone wants to read a lexicanon page of over 10 paragraphs. Some people just want the general gist of what's going on in 40k, and don't need to know the finer details. So, like the good innkeeper I am, I'll give you a need-to-know quick guide on these events, but since we are going back to Armageddon, we'll start with GW's original experimentation with events and a real-life global campaign that they tried. So, to learn about Armageddon, we must go back to the past, Samurai Jack! 10,000 years to be exact. During the Great Crusade, the Emperor of Mankind and, at the time, good boy Horus Lupercal had just done the impossible. They shattered the largest orc empire in the Warhammer galaxy on the planet of Ullanor. Basically, the Imperium proved that it was the next power to take over the galaxy here, and it was the event that would see the Emperor retire to Terra and promote Horus to the title of War Master, with Ullanor's main continent being turned into a massive landing field for the announcement. Because, you know, go big or go home. Now, you know how the rest of the story goes. Horus betrayed the Emperor a few years later, the Imperium Civil War known as the Horus Heresy breaks out with a massive book series that absorbs my life and personality, and eventually the traitors are defeated and the Emperor is made into a couch potato for the rest of his life.
But if I cannot save it from your failure, Father, then let the galaxy burn.
It was not cake, it was cringe, Father.
And for 1,000 years after that shit show, the Imperium is basically just trying to figure out what was lost as they try to rebuild. Though, just because humanity is having an aneurysm, doesn't mean the rest of the galaxy just sits and waits. The orcs spent their time over the next 1,000 years regrouping and rebuilding. And where do you think the center of this new rising orc empire starts? Why, Ullanor, of course. This would lead to the absolute insane storyline of War of the Beast. A war that saw the average orc boy being larger than a space marine, orc Death Stars made of literal moons, and an orc that knew how to speak fluent posh British. This one's my favorite. The Imperium would barely overcome this new threat, but Ullanor was the site of the final battle again, and it was revealed that the orcs' teleporter technology was extremely advanced, leading to the Mechanicum doing what they do best. Stealing that shit and hiding it away from the Imperium by
Push it somewhere else!
So the Mechanicus teleported Ullanor to some random place in the galaxy, which turned out to be the Armageddon system. And since the Imperium was rebuilding from GW's second attempt to capture lightning in a bottle, it was pretty easy to just rename Ullanor to Armageddon, and voila! We finally have the starting point for this event. 9,000 years later. Armageddon, for the next 9,000 years, would become a major planet within the Imperium. It helped that it sits on a major lane of travel that leads directly to Terra. You know, the heart of the Imperium? So, Armageddon became a major industrial powerhouse, making its own guard regiments called the Steel Legion, and its factories churning out so many vehicles that trying to breathe on Armageddon is like breathing in the exhaust of your uncle's compensation truck, with added rust flakes to make the blood you cough up more metallic. Don't worry, it just that means when you die, we can add the metal flakes inside you to the foundries. Of course, where there is something being productive in 40k, you know someone has to come in and fuck it up.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now. This is cancer.
Enter in the Warp, and everyone's favorite tragic failure, Angron.
Please clap.
Armageddon in the year 444 M41 was covered in warp storms. Basically imagine galactic hurricanes, but instead of strong winds and rains that destroy your house, it's demons in reality tearing itself apart. With the arrival of the warp storm also rose chaos cults, and with chaos demons stabbing everyone everywhere, it was easy for the cults to summon Angron, Primarch of the World Eaters, chosen demon prince of the Blood God, and the man who introduced the concept of brain surgery to your D&D party's barbarian. With the World Eaters' Chaos Space Marines, demonic hordes of Khorne demons, and Chaos cultists destabilizing Armageddon's defenses, the planet was set to be overrun, a way to Terra open wide for the forces of Chaos, until a bunch of wolf-themed Viking LARPers showed up to fuck them up! The Space Wolves Space Marine chapter heard the distress signals from Armageddon, and the first great company of the Space Wolves arrived, led by their chapter master, Logan Grimnar. However, even with the most elite of the Space Wolves warriors, there was just a lot. Like, have you ever seen the amount of bodies in 40k art? Yeah, now just expand that. Perfect. Luckily for the exhausted defenders, another group of super special awesome marines had been waiting for their time to strike. Called upon by Logan, the Grey Knights, a secret chapter that is specialized against the demons of chaos, deployed 109 of their finest into the fray, and with their assistance, they defeated Angron, banishing him back to the Warp and sending him back to Khorne, ready for a good spanking for failing again. Now, the First War was over, and would be covered up because of a multitude of reasons. However, the Space Wolves would always remember, because fuck you, Inquisition, we do what we want. Also, Granddad said get the fuck off our lawn because he pissed beside the Emperor you claim to serve. So, like, yeah. Armageddon's population was sterilized and worked to death and eventually repopulated. Because remember, guys, the good guys always sterilize their civilians and make death camps. For the slower ones of us, that was sarcasm. 500 years later to the day, Armageddon was again an industrial powerhouse within the Imperium. However, a new threat was coming to Armageddon, the Orcs, led by the Orc warlord Ghazghkull Mag Uruk Thraka, an Orc who, with unknowing assistance, was able to build up an Orc Wa, and like any party on the move, pointed it in a direction, and in that direction lied Armageddon. Note, there is a theory that Ullanor was the Orc homeworld, so all Orcs technically might have a psychic beacon to go back to their homeworld, but that's just a theory, not an actual confirmed fact. So, funny little thing to learn. Now, Armageddon wasn't without its champion. Lord Commissar Sebastian Yarrick was on the planet, and he was raising the alarm bells of an Orc invasion, only to be ignored because he was fake news and his woke fear-mongering wouldn't get in the way of profit that the planetary lords wanted from the massive ship that just entered the system. This would lead to the Second War for Armageddon, where Ghazghkull crashed his massive ship onto Armageddon and, due to the planet's leadership not listening to the experts, squandered their defenses and resources. So, an average day in the Imperium. Got it. However, luckily for the people of Hades' Hive, Yarrick had been banished there, and he rallied the defenders, hive gangs, and even the average citizens to defend their megacity from the Orc hordes. Though Yarrick would lose an arm, he'd gain an Orc power claw to replace it, and the legend of Commissar Yarrick would haunt not only the Orcs, but my fucking comment section for years about who this guy is and if he's alive or not.
At least, yeah, it's a pretty much hard no. Read the Codex Astra Militarum, and it's pretty decisive.
There was a body.
Sorry, guys.
With Hades' Hive holding out, and the capital Armageddon Prime also just barely holding out, the Space Marines would arrive. The Blood Angels, the Salamanders, and the Ultramarines would break the Orc invasion and relieve Armageddon, though Ghazghkull would escape. Somehow. Maybe that teleporter tech, yeah, I don't know. Either way, Armageddon would see its incompetent leadership replaced with people who didn't listen to former sportscaster podcasts. The legendary Commissar Yarrick would launch a hunt for Gazgul, and he would eventually track the Orc warlord down, only to lose so horrifically that Gazgul would end up saving his rival Yarrick from getting run over by his own super tank. For months after, Yarrick was a prisoner aboard the Orc warlord's ship, but Yarrick would prove time and time again that he would not be broken, even if you threw him down a pit. Twice. Gazgul, who was happy to see Yarrick not be a weak Yumi, gifted the Commissar his claw arm back, a ship, and the information that he should prepare the defenses of Armageddon, because Gazzy was coming back for round 2 Electric Boogaloo, leading to the third war for Armageddon. However, this time, Armageddon wouldn't be caught off guard, as the Imperial defenses were augmented by 25 various Space Marine chapters, sending various amounts of companies and support, 2 orders of the Sisters of Battle, thousands of Guard regiments, and 7 Titan legions, all ready for the Orc onslaught that came in 998 M41. And how would Gazzy start the third war? Well, he would basically nuke Hades' Hive, because he refused to be stuck in a stalemate again. Which, bad news, Gazzy. The third war would be a stalemate. Yeah, even though the Orcs had a never-ending numbers and the Imperium's defenders had the best of the best leading them, neither side could really get the upper hand. So after a year of this bullshit, Gazgul, either through visions from his gods, or the ADHD brittled brain that is an Orc mind, just got bored and left, with Yarrick and the Black Templars chasing after him, leaving Armageddon a never-ending stalemate between the Imperium and Orcs.
What? What the fuck?
Now, cut to modern 40k. Cadia has fallen, the galaxy's been split in two by a massive warp rift known as the Great Rift, the Imperium kinda got reasonably distracted by these events, and the stalemate of Armageddon would fade from memory and priority. Except, just because you ignore the problem, doesn't mean it cleans itself. Due to the Great Rift opening and the veil between reality and the warp weakening, the old chaotic gates that survived the Imperial purges from the First War opened up with renewed warp energy, and the forces of chaos would transform half of Armageddon into a demonic world, with the Imperial Guard regiments and Orc hordes either fighting on their own or making desperate alliances to survive the demonic onslaught. However, with the most recent Warhammer reveal, we are returning to Armageddon, with Angron returning with not only his legion, but with the 3 other God's Chosen Traitor legions, some Chaos warbands, and a bunch of demonic legions. They renewed their invasion of Armageddon, with the Space Wolves, Grey Knights, Steel Legion, and Black Templars all returning to Armageddon to stem the tide, with hints of another force coming as well. Maybe it'll be the Space Wolves Primarch, Leman Russ, or maybe it will be Gazgul, ironically coming to liberate the world. Or hey, maybe it'll be Necrons, because we fucking found them here too. Armageddon was Games Workshop's attempt to have a worldwide campaign, with you, the players, deciding how the campaign would play out, with the first and second wars basically being the background for events that led up to the third war, which IRL players would play out. Hades' Hive being nuked? Yeah, that happened because the UK Orc players basically destroyed the UK Imperial players. So you can see how well that went story-wise. So, let me know in the comments down below, what was your favorite part of the Wars of Armageddon? Did you participate in the campaign from over 20 years ago? What do you hope to see from us returning to Armageddon? Please keep the comments civil and welcoming to those who are new to 40k, and I'll see you all next time as I give you the need to know of the Nakamund Gauntlet campaign. See you all next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more from me, please hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. You know, just to be alerted if I upload anything new. As well, don't forget to share this video around with your friends on Blue Sky, Reddit, wherever the hell you can get your hands on. And don't forget to check out my Patreon. If you subscribe for only $5 a month, you get to see my videos a whole week early before they come out on YouTube. And don't forget to follow me on Twitch, because I stream there every Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But yeah, thank you so much for the support. I literally cannot do this without you guys. So, have a good day.